Hello, my name is Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. In this video, I explore the lack of depth of knowledge that Alex Schelesinger has about Darkseid and Jack Kirby's Fourth World. There's an article on your screen from Screenrant. Darkseid's origin is Sexist Cliche. DC should have dropped by Alex Schelesinger. Was dropped, I believe, yesterday as of the time of the recording of this video. I will have the link to it below for you to read at your own choice. I encourage you all to investigate on your own and see if you form the same conclusion I did. So today, as of recording this, as I just mentioned, in this article, Alex Schelesinger contends that DC should have retconned Darkseid's origin with a recent restatement of it. Right? I understand that in the woke world, anything and everything is a target for deconstruction as they advance their inevitable Marxist program. So I guess it shouldn't surprise me that Schlesinger either has no actual in-depth knowledge about Darkseid and Jack Kirby's Fourth World, or is deliberately ignoring the information in service to their cause. I don't know which is worse, ignorance or obfuscation. The opening line of the article sets the tone and agenda for this hit piece. The immeasurably evil DC Comics supervillain Darkseid has a surprisingly sexist origin story, writes Schlesinger, and instead of doing away with this tired trope, the New Frontier era actually doubled down on blaming his mother for his vile nature. End quote. That paragraph then goes on to lament, open quote, it is ridiculous to claim that her terribleness is what originated his dark soul. Darkseid's origin story frames him as being the result of bad mothering, further perpetuates negative stereotypes about motherhood, and inappropriately places the blame solely on Hedger's back. End quote. The next paragraph is a cursory summary of the origin of Darkseid's character as part of Jack Kirby's New Gods, as first seen in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, number 134. And that's where the writer demonstrates an almost total ignorance of what Jack Kirby wrote about the New Gods, let alone the expansion and depth later on those characters over the years. Or they just read the Wikipedia summary. So first, let's establish what the New Gods are. Jack Kirby left Marvel and returned to DC in 1970. He was given the right to create a series of interconnected storylines under a meta storyline originally dubbed the Fourth World, which later became known as Jack Kirby's Fourth World, as succeeding writers added to it. The New Gods is a reference to a new group of gods who came into existence after the primordial Ragnarok of the Third World in Kirby's constructed Legendarium. And for the reference of what that was, Kirby had worked on Thor in Marvel, and in his mind, the destruction of the old world was the event that forced him to leave Marvel, because he was not being given credit and ownership of characters he had either created or partially created, and he felt that his work wasn't being valued, so he went to DC and made the New Gods. In context now of his creation, we're going back to that for this next part. The Fourth World is a reality that is outside of the conventional universe, wherein the concepts that underlie the universe manifest in forms and personas and engage in conflict that represents the metaphysical conflicts in the regular reality. So there are the ideas conflicting that the regular reality is built around. Every single thing and being in the Fourth World is a manifestation of a concept. In the 1970s comic series Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, within a series of storylines initially by Kirby and continued by others afterwards, Jimmy Olsen manifested one bizarre superpower after another. This continued on even after that series was canceled until the legendary Crisis on Infinite Earths event, where Jimmy's character, like many others, was reset. Decades later, due to the events of a follow-up series, Infinite Crisis, which undid many of the changes that Crisis on Infinite Earths did to Jimmy Olsen, the character's superpowered youth, so to speak, was restored. In the last mega crossover follow-up to Crisis on Infinite Earths, an event called Final Crisis, the origin of Jimmy's powers was explained. Jimmy was manifesting the powers of a different New God every time he encountered a representation of their concept, in a circumstance where Jimmy needed to use superpowers. And when the anti-life entity was in, there was an event called Countdown to Final Crisis, when the anti-life entity was erasing the New Gods in the lead-up to Final Crisis, Darkseid was wanted to stop this. So he was using Jimmy Olsen to reabsorb those powers as the other New Gods died, and then he absorbed the powers from Jimmy Olsen in his idea to confront and stop the anti-life entity. and this would have been his final step on ruling existence, basically, because no other new gods had existed. He would have ruled unopposed. Over the course of decades, there are many conflicting depictions of Darkseid due to comic writers wanting to farm him out in their own books to their own heroes in order to elevate their heroes. In a famous or infamous retcon, Grant Morrison changed all those appearances into either Darkseid pretending to be Darkseid or just different avatars of Darkseid manifesting, which were weaker than the actual true Darkseid. True Darkseid is the purest manifestation of his concept, which is occupied engaging Highfather as a concept in the fourth world. In Batman 702, Batman identified the new gods as powerful living ideas manifested as part of a world of platonic ideals. Darkseid is the manifestation of evil. To this specific point, and it's very careful to understand this, okay? We're talking concepts here, things that beings that exist as concepts, which obviously in our real world don't exist. Okay? Darkseid, his mother Hegra, his father Yuga Khan, his dead wife, and so on, they're all manifestations of concepts. Being the Dark World Apocalypse, which is one of the two worlds of the fourth world. There's New Genesis and Apocalypse. Apocalypse is the collection of the dark ideals. They're all manifestations of negative concepts. Darkseid's mother was not an evil trope. She was not turned to some variation of evil. She was not just born evil. She was born as a manifestation of a purely evil concept. That's our sole reason for existing. The same is true for Darkseid. He's the manifestation of an evil concept. He wouldn't exist. He only exists because that evil concept exists and manifests in the fourth world. Darkseid's mother abusing him, murdering Darkseid's wife, and so on are not bad tropes. They're the misinterpretations of Alex Schelesinger. I would agree on the broader concept that repeating tropes over and over again is bad. I would agree that for a human character, blaming the character's mother for them being evil would be a bad trope that should not be broadly continued, though we know that the most influential person in your life is your mother, so to speak. But Schlesinger, within this hit piece, clearly either doesn't understand the source material or is deliberately choosing to suppress it. As inevitably occurs, DC has cycled through reboot after reboot with his characters and concepts, though it's kept several of these concepts the same because they want all of their reboots to be in the same meta continuity so they can all cross over and therefore generate revenue, so to speak. They learned the long lessons from the success of Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, and surrounding events. Meaning those events were profitable, right? But they weren't profitable because they were reboots. Reboots were profitable because they were well written. What has followed with the New 52, Rebirth, and now Infinite Frontier, and all the other mini reboots in between have been basically to make up for their failings of DC Comics to sell any books except for Batman books. Schlesinger is referring specifically to Justice League Incarnate number 5, where the origin of Darkseid is retold without much change. And we see in a quick series of summary panels, which are in the article, and I will scroll down a bit so you can see. Okay. Baby Darkseid is being told to be evil by Hegra. Then Hegra, after murdering Darkseid's supposed true love, telling him that love is a weakness. Schlesinger, of course, laments that this would have been the perfect time to change Darkseid's origin away from the bad old negative trope. What he completely fails to recognize that Hegra is an evil mother raising an evil baby. Neither Darkseid nor Hegra are corrupted. Their natural, pure, idealized state is to be evil. Their corrupt nature would be to be good. Therefore, as a mother, her motherly instincts are to keep her son pure and on his path of evil. So murdering Darkseid's wife, who is making Darkseid impure and weak due to making him manifest love, is the correct action for her. This may sound bizarre, but if Hegra, Yuga Khan, and Darkseid were not absolutely perfectly evil, the universe that they're constructing wouldn't work. They're manifestations of concepts, not physical beings who are driven by outside stimuli. Or to put it another way, they're the manifestations of the external stimuli given form and sapience. Schlesinger then goes on and cites an article by Michelle Byers and Rachel Collins where they criticize the book Mindhunter or the Netflix show derived from it, and it's used to what they refer to as, quote, mother blame remains a central motif of mainstream cultural narratives about violent masculinity, end quote. That study, and I'm not even going to debate its validity and its validity in reference to humans, real or otherwise, has no logical bearing on the literary explanation of a hyper-powered conceptual manifestations. So Schlesinger's concept that human psychology has any bearing on Darkseid is either flawed or one of deliberate malfeasance. If this was 10 years ago, I'd chalk Schlesinger's viewpoint up to being ignorant. But we've seen the inevitable Marxist-driven assault on existing franchises, legendarium, and characters, on things that fans love and use that were meant to unite us in the joy of entertainment, a luxury we've all worked together as a civilization to achieve. And I can no longer say that Schlesinger is not engaging in deliberate, malignant deconstruction with an article like this. So what are your thoughts? Comment down below. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you're interested in hearing more from me. My name is Matt. This is Unbearable 73. Have a nice day, and I am out of here.